Former President Trump's hush money trial is wrapping up in New York with prosecutors and defense lawyers giving their closing arguments.
Next up, the case is going to be given to a jury. Connor Hansen has the latest.
Well, former President Donald Trump's defense team trying to sow a seed of doubt in the jury during closing arguments. Prosecutors defending their key witnesses' testimony.
Attorney Todd Blanche addressing the jury for nearly 3 hours in Donald Trump's criminal hush money trial, focusing on the prosecution's key witness, Trump's former personal attorney, Michael Cohen, calling him the, quote, MVP of liars. Cohen testified that Trump directed him to pay off adult film star Stormy Daniels to silence her over an alleged affair before the 2016 election.
Michael Cohen is the embodiment of reasonable doubt.
Trump's legal team arguing Cohen acted independently in the hush money scheme, and Trump only paid Cohen for legitimate legal expenses. Blanche also arguing Daniels' testimony was a ploy by the prosecution to, quote, inflame your emotions and try to embarrass the former president, even suggesting she tried to extort Trump.
I'm just proud of the toughest person I've ever met in my entire life for having the backbone and fortitude to go through this whole mess, as uncomfortable as it's been.
The prosecution started its closing argument after a lunch break, trying to lay out the evidence they say proves Trump broke the law. The judge will then instruct the jury on how they will decide on the 34 charges before they begin deliberating.
The prosecution has to prove this beyond a reasonable doubt. That is a high burden, and we'll see what the jury thinks about that.
Judge Juan Merchan told jurors to be prepared to stay late. They'll likely start deliberating tomorrow. In New York, Connor Hansen, Fox 32, Chicago.
All right, well, let's talk about what we know right now. Closing arguments. Those closing arguments are still going. The prosecution is still talking. The jury could start deliberating today, as you just heard. And here to talk more about this is North Central College professor of political science, Stephen Caliendo. It's always great to have you here sorting all of this out. There's so much to this case. So let's start out with this. Trump is accused of 34 counts, felony counts of falsifying business documents. Is it possible that the former president could actually serve jail time?
You bet. It's absolutely possible, Tia. I mean, these are felonies. It's a complicated prosecution because some of what has been alleged only rises to the level of misdemeanor, where there's unlikely to be jail time unless it is in furtherance of another crime, and that crime was is alleged to be getting some advantage in the 2016 presidential election. And so if the jurors believe that the president was involved in that, and then during the sentencing, it's very possible that the president could serve jail time, prison time.
I know there's a lot of precedent being set right now, just looking at this case. Nothing like this has ever played out before. Do we know if Trump is actually planning to run again, as he is? What happens if he is found guilty on any of the counts? Does that actually hurt his chances of becoming president in terms of the precedent legally that's out there?
I mean, there's nothing constitutionally that prohibits an imprisoned person from being president of the United States if they're duly elected. Campaigning, of course, is difficult if one is behind bars, but it's also possible that even if a conviction is held down or held in this case, and even prior to the sentencing or even after the sentencing, there will be an appeal. And it's possible that the former president could be out on bail during his appeal. And so he may not be forced to have prison time until the appeal is heard. And so there could be a lot left in terms of legal maneuvering just with respect to this one case. But as you well know, Tia, this is not the only case that President Trump is facing.
And that's interesting that you bring that up, because obviously this is a state case that we're talking about today. But there are 3 other cases. We have the case in Georgia, Washington, D.C., and also Florida. What could shake out in terms of those cases?
Right, the 2 federal cases in Washington and Florida, and then, of course, the state case in Georgia. None of those is going to be determined prior to the November 2024 election. And so we know for sure that this is going to be the only verdict that we get. Just because of the timing and the legal maneuvering that took place, it's the only verdict we're going to get before we go to vote in November or late October, since we can vote early in Illinois. But I will tell you, though, that the federal cases can go away if President Trump wins. He can instruct the Justice Department to make them go away. The Georgia case cannot be dismissed by President Trump or the Justice Department under President Trump, because, as you said, Tia, that's a state case. That one, of course, has its own complications, but it cannot be dismissed simply because Donald Trump is reelected president.
Real quickly, when you talk about Trump could make these cases go away from a federal perspective, are we talking about the issue of being able to pardon yourself?
No, not necessarily. You really can't have a pardon unless you're found guilty of something. And so this is really about telling the Justice Department to stop with the prosecutions altogether.
All right. You always know everything when it comes to this kind of stuff. That's why we have you on the show, Professor Stephen Caliendo. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks, Tia.
All right, Sylvia and Terrence, I'll send it back to you.